I built $1 million company from nothing with my own two hands. My best friend took all the money, all the credit, and left me with nothing. This is exactly how it happened. And trust me, every single word is true. Let me take you back to that night. Picture this. No glamorous startup office, no cheering investors. Just me and Daniel sitting in this tiny, greasy diner on the corner of a quiet street. The kind of place where the coffee always tasted burnt, the booths were cracked, and the waitress remembered your usual order without even asking. Rain was tapping on the window outside. We were both exhausted from our dead-end jobs, the kind that sucked the life out of you day after day. Daniel leaned across the sticky table, lowered his voice like he was sharing the biggest secret in the world, and said, "Ryan, what if we stopped working for everyone else and built something that was actually ours?" I laughed out loud at first, not because the idea sounded stupid, but because it felt completely impossible. We were both in our late 20s, drowning in student loans that felt like a mountain on our chests. We were stuck in jobs where nobody even noticed if we stayed late or left early. Just another face in the crowd. But Daniel, he was different. He had this fire in his eyes. He always saw possibilities where the rest of the world only saw walls and dead ends. He looked at me and said, "You run operations better than anyone I've ever met. Systems, logistics, structure. That's your superpower. I can bring the clients in. I can charm the investors. But I can't build what you build. Together, we'll be unstoppable." Those words hit me right in the chest. For the first time in years, someone actually saw my real value. Someone believed in me. By the time we paid the bill and stepped out into that rainy night, the dream had already started growing in our heads. Daniel would handle sales, relationships, and the spotlight. I would build everything behind the scenes, the foundation that actually makes a company work. And together, we would create something big. At least, that's what I believed with all my heart. The first year was absolute hell. Our so-called office was nothing more than a tiny rented room above an old mechanic shop. Every single morning, the smell of motor oil and grease would drift up through the floorboards and stick to our clothes. We had mismatched chairs that squeaked every time you moved. Second-hand desks covered in scratches. Half the time the internet would die right when we needed it most. We were eating cheap ramen noodles for dinner more nights than I can count. Some weekends we didn't even go home. We just crashed on the old couch in the corner. But you know what? We didn't care one bit, because every late night, every small win, every time we crossed something off our endless to-do list, it felt like real progress. It felt like we were finally building our future instead of someone else's. Daniel was pure magic with people. He could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with 3 new potential clients and their phone numbers. Investors would lean forward in their chairs when he started talking. He had that natural confidence that made everyone believe in him instantly. Me? I stayed in the background where I felt most comfortable. I built the systems. I created the workflows. I designed the hiring process from scratch. I negotiated every vendor agreement, every single operational detail that kept the company running smoothly. That came from me. When a client called with a complaint at midnight, I was the one answering. When an employee didn't show up, I stayed late to cover their shift. We complemented each other perfectly, or at least, that's what I kept telling myself every single day. Whenever anything went wrong, and believe me, things went wrong all the time, I was the one who fixed it. Client unhappy with delivery? I reworked the entire process. Server crashed during a big launch. I stayed up until 4 a.m. rebuilding it, and every single time, without fail, Daniel would walk over, clap me on the shoulder with that big grin of his, and say the exact same thing. Ryan, you're the backbone of this company. Backbone. At the time, that word felt like the highest praise. It made me feel important. It made me feel valued. But looking back now, I realized something painful about backbones. They carry the entire body on their shoulders, but nobody ever sees them. Nobody ever thanks them. They're just there, silent, supporting everything. 2 years later, everything had changed. We finally moved out of that greasy little room and into a real office downtown. Glass walls that actually look professional. Matching desks. A real receptionist at the front desk who greeted everyone with a warm smile. The first time I walked into the building and saw our company logo listed on the directory, I swear my heart almost exploded with pride. It felt like proof. Proof that all those sleepless nights and burnt coffee and missed family dinners had actually meant something. Proof that our sacrifices were finally paying off. Daniel started becoming the face of everything. He was getting invited to industry events, appearing on business podcasts, shaking hands with big investors who hung on his every word. He was charismatic, confident, and articulate, the perfect front man. And honestly, I was completely okay with that, because every single time someone praised him in public, he would turn around, point straight at me and say, "None of this works without Ryan. He's the reason we're here." I believed every word. Maybe that was my first real mistake. Then slowly, the closed-door meetings started happening. At first, it was just one or two. I'd see Daniel walking into the conference room with investors I had never met before. The door would close, and I would stay outside at my desk, handling the daily operations like always. I didn't think much of it in the beginning. After all, that was his role, handling investors and strategy. But the meetings kept happening. New investors, new advisors, new lawyers. Every time that door clicked shut, something in my gut started to feel uneasy. Whenever I asked Daniel about it later, he would just smile that easy smile of his and wave it off like it was nothing. Just some strategy discussions, Ryan. Nothing you need to worry about. You keep doing what you do best. Nothing you need to worry about. That phrase started repeating in my head more and more. Meanwhile, my workload was exploding. More employees to manage, more clients with bigger demands, more operational fires popping up every single day. I handled every single one without complaining, because that's what backbones do, right? They carry the weight, they stay quiet, they don't ask questions. The real turning point came on a quiet Thursday afternoon I'll never forget. Daniel walked into my office holding a thick folder, looking excited like a kid on Christmas morning. "Big news, man," he said, grinning wide. "We're restructuring the company. Investors want to accelerate growth. We're bringing in serious new capital." That sounded amazing at first. Growth meant success. Success meant everything we had sacrificed was finally paying off. He slid the stack of documents across my desk and said, "Just some legal paperwork to formalize everything. Sign where it's highlighted, and we're good to go." I started flipping through the pages, trying to make sense of all the legal language. Titles, new roles, department structures. At first, nothing seemed off, but then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My name wasn't anywhere. I turned page after page. Ownership percentages, board members, investor shares. Still nothing. My heart started pounding harder. I looked up at him, trying to keep my voice steady. Daniel, where am I in this new structure? He leaned back in his chair, completely calm, and said, You're head of operations. Head of operations. It sounded impressive on paper, but something felt completely wrong. I swallowed hard and asked the question I already dreaded. Okay, but where's my ownership percentage listed? For the first time, he didn't answer right away. There was this long, heavy silence. Then he finally said the words that shattered everything I thought I knew. Ryan, technically the company has always been under my LLC. It was just easier that way when we started. Easier. That one word echoed in my head like a slap. 3 full years, every system I designed, every employee I trained, every single late night I gave up my own life for this company. And legally, I owned 0%. Nothing. Not even a single share. I stared at the papers, my hands actually shaking a little. So what exactly am I in this company now? He gave me that same familiar smile and said quietly, You're essential, Ryan. You really are. But you're not an owner. Essential. Not an owner. In that moment, everything clicked into place like a punch to the gut. All those times he called me the backbone. He wasn't giving me a compliment. He meant it literally. I was never the face. I was never the vision. I was never the company. I was just the invisible support structure holding everything up. And support structures? They can always be replaced when they are no longer needed. That night, long after everyone else had gone home, I sat alone in the dark office. The city lights outside the windows glowed like thousands of tiny stars. I just stared at our company logo on the wall for what felt like hours. I thought I had been building our future together. Turns out, I had only been building his empire. And the worst part was, I had helped make every single piece of it happen with my own hands. I didn't yell. I didn't quit on the spot. I didn't even cry. I just sat there in the silence and made one quiet promise to myself. I wouldn't explode. Not yet. Because sometimes the most powerful response to betrayal is patience. And sometimes the only way to rebuild everything you lost is to start writing a completely new story from scratch. But right then, sitting in that empty office with the weight of 3 years pressing down on me, I had no idea how dark and twisted that new story was about to become. This was just the beginning. In episode 2, I discover the lies were even bigger than I ever imagined. The secret deals, the hidden accounts, and the one decision I made next changed everything forever. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your dreams, your time, and your future, drop a broken heart in the comments right now. Let me know I'm not alone in this. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this 10-part series is about to get a lot more intense. You won't want to miss what happens next. See you in episode 2.